Two-wheelers are the fastest electrifying mobility segment, and there is nowhere that this is more evident than in East Africa. As this is spreading across the continent, most stakeholders are now diving in with investment offers, and motorcycle companies are raising millions of dollars to expand their operations. And you know that a market is ready when Chinese capital starts flowing in, unlike in the past when Western venture funds were the only ones investing in this space. But even before you can manage thousands of BodaBoda riders in a network, you first have to understand what it's like to be one. And today's guest has been on both sides of this electrification journey, with Chinese tech serving as a touch point for many BodaBoda riders. Moses Musinguzi started out as a BodaBoda rider in Kampala, became Safe Borders, a very fast rider in 2014, and rose through the ranks to lead operations at the company as the company expanded into Kenya and Nigeria. And today, at Zeno Uganda, he sits at the intersection of riders' business strategy and the transition to electric mobility, helping shape how commercial riders adopt electric motorcycles. In this episode, we'll explore what really drives the shift from gasoline to electric, as we also examine the financial realities behind electric motorcycles, what riders often misunderstand about the economics, and why Africa's two-wheeler sector is leading the continent's electric vehicle transition. I'm your host, Njenga Hakeenah, and this is the Africa EV Show. Welcome to the show, Musinguzi, and I am so psyched to hear about your experiences and how this has shaped your perspectives in the e-mobility sector. Please tell us a little bit about what you do at Zeno in Uganda.
Thanks so much, Hakeenah, for this introduction and also for having me on this podcast. I've been watching lots of your podcasts, and it's a pleasure to be an invite here as well. Anyways, once again, my name is Moses. Then I'm a sales and operations manager at Zeno Uganda. And what actually that entails is anything to do with the operations, the go-to-market strategy, pricing, looking at the competition, looking at the latest trends, and how we can make our product much accessible to the riders, because it's a mass market product, more for commercial use. So how best can we introduce this and also make this asset more successful compared to other products on the market? So literally anything to do with the operations and sales, that's where I sit.
Nice. That's a very bird's eye view kind of position to be in, because you're seeing everything that is happening under that. But I know that Chinese tech has played a huge role in enabling the shift that we are seeing today. And do you use any of that at Zeno?
Yep. Yeah, we do source different equipment to assemble our bikes. Obviously, it depends on how you call it, either assembling or manufacturing. We do that in-house in India. And obviously, we understand that the biggest lithium battery producers in the world, it's Chinese. So we do get some of that from China, however much that we do production in India. And also the operations currently in Kenya, soon coming to Uganda as well.
Ah, nice. It's a very interesting aspect of the South-to-South cooperation. If you're doing China, India, Kenya, Uganda, then it shows that the global South countries are really working between themselves to make sure that things get to move, right?
That's right.
And you started as a BodaBoda rider, and today you're managing operations. And looking back, what lessons from the roadside still influence the decisions you make in the office today?
Currently, in my position, however much that I look at the different KPIs, look at the different metrics, I still carry my Boda history with me everywhere I go. So every decision I make, I have to put myself into the Boda shoes. Like Moses, if you're on the street right now, what would you like to receive from this company X, and how much can can you improve? So basically, it's more to do with things that affect the border drivers every single day. The biggest one is how to improve on the earnings, because every kilometer matters on the road. Like every time you spend in a garage matters. Every time you spend on the maybe at consuming fuel matters. So anything to do with the driver earnings, I'll put myself there at first. Then also the drivers' well-being, like how's this decision going to affect our drivers' well-being? Because we understand that here in Uganda, an average border driver has about 2 kids and one wife, obviously, plus the siblings. So you see that on the road, it's only one person, but along him, it's a chain of different people behind him. So how best do you improve their welfare and also their earnings? So that's kind of one of the biggest decision I have to make every time I have to make a strategy to make things that are actually going to affect the rider. Yeah.
All right. And I'm assuming you're a family man based on what you just shared. And I think that when we look at such kind of numbers, not just in terms of numbers, but livelihoods and dependent, then it makes a lot more sense to make decisions that really positively affect these people. And I am hoping that all the riders that are under you are enjoying being under Musinguzi, because you have been through it, right?
True. Fingers crossed. Hope it's the same perspective in the community there, because at the end of the day, it's the best operations are built around the riders' daily reality. So, I expect that whatever I assume in the boardrooms are actually doing the best for the riders out there.
Okay. And by the way, you have been to Nigeria, you have been to Kenya, and now you're in Uganda. Is the market the same in terms of dynamics, or is each country different in how it operates?
Africa, in terms of the outside world, they may think that it's a one country, but it's not. Like every market, it's unique in its own way. So, however much that we share lots of similarities, but also the differences are also profound. Like every market is unique in its own way. So, for example, when you go to Nigeria border riders, the way they think is so different from the Ugandan ones. For example, maybe the level of literacy is high. So when it comes to tech usage, they'd be easier to adapt to the tech compared to the Uganda, where it's a bit slow and you have to take very critical steps before you reach there. I remember my days back in 2014, when we just launched the Safe Boda, we had to introduce the smartphones, and less than 1% of the riders ever had a smartphone. And it was just even dialing a phone call or checking their contact list, they needed a training there. So it took us a very good time to kind of change the driver's mindset and also adapting to technology. So these are kind of differences that I have seen in different markets. So if you go to Kenya, it's a very speedy country. I've been to Nairobi a couple of times, several times, and you see even the way the drivers are dressed up and how they peep their bikes, how they think about the assets is so different from Uganda, where a driver thinks that this is an engine bringing in extra income to me. But for them, it's a kind of a lifestyle. So every market, it's unique in its own way. However much that the border is kind of growing in all these different markets. Yeah.
Nice. It's interesting to hear that. And I know that as a border rider, this is one of the things that they ask. And the one simple question before they switch is, will I make more money? And from your experience as both a rider and an operations manager, what are the biggest financial misconceptions that riders have about motorcycles?
Obviously, in terms of the biggest financial misconceptions, it's rotating around their earnings. Because if you look at the driver's mindset here, generally in Africa, they will always think about the daily. Unlike Hakeenah, where let's say Hakeenah, who is a former employee, you 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 kind of are budgeting your money at the end of the month, like how much percentage am I putting into rent, or how much percentage am I putting into groceries and so forth. That's very different from the reader's perspective. They always thinking about, okay, my target is making 40K. I know it's a bit higher. When I mention 40K UGX, it may sound very ridiculous, but that's kind of their target. They think, okay, I just need to make 40K. They don't think about these nitty gritties, like how much am I spending into the repairs? How much am I spending into the spares? How much am I spending on the gas station if I'm going for the gas station? They're not thinking about the uncertainties around fuel. So they're always thinking about how much can I save per day? How much can I make per day? So the biggest financial misconception around here, if you look at the EVs in general, it's to improve on the driver's earnings, because the amount you're spending on spares should reduce significantly, because EVs don't have big components like engines, where you have to buy a spark plug, you have to buy clutch plates, like these bearings and so forth. You won't find that in EVs. So for them, their mathematics is around, okay, if I get the EV and I'm earning the same amount like the one with the ice bikes, they don't think about the long run. So that's a kind of a misconception around. We are trying as much as we can to kind of change the driver's mindset around. Don't think about the short term, think about the long term. So how much you're going to spend in the depreciation value at the end of the, let's say 6 months, 1 year, is going to be so significant for the ice bikes compared to EVs, because EVs, it's a more to do with the batteries. Batteries are the biggest components in the batteries and motors, and most of the cases, these components are already insured and are already been taken care of the suppliers. So the go-to-market strategy is more of battery as a service. So we are telling the drivers, don't think about how much you're spending on the batteries. Just spend a little bit less. Then with that, you can make more money in the long run. So back to your question, biggest misconception around EVs. One, they think that EVs are expensive, which is not true. EVs also have like the accessibility to the spares is not that much compared to the ice bikes. They know, as a matter of fact, in a radius of about 10 kilometers, at least in every 1.5 kilometers, you're going to find a garage that services the ice bikes, compared to the EVs, where the supplier is the one taking care of that responsibility of servicing the bike. So that's another misconception. But we have seen that suppliers are now working with the local garages, training them, and improving the curriculum in the tertiary institutions to kind of increase on the labor force that are going to work on the EVs. So I think that's kind of a misconception, but then we are seeing a big uptake. However much that the misconception is there, we are seeing that EVs are growing in Uganda. Currently, at least every 20 bikes, you see at least 2 bikes EVs. Yeah.
I was in Uganda last year, and for a while in East Africa, Uganda was the pioneer of BodaBodas. And at the junctions, where the intersections, where the roads meet, when the lights go green, it's like a beehive that has been released.
Uganda is so crazy. Even when I was in Nigeria, like Nigeria has the biggest population, but still the number of borders in Uganda. It's a small country, but it's a kind of a border-driven economy.
It's a lot. I mean, like, it's a lot. My goodness. And I got some border rides.
Yeah, it's a free entry. It's a free entry market. Like, and it's the easiest, and it's the second biggest employer compared to agriculture. So
So a majority of Ugandans have a bike somewhere, or they know someone who has
At
a
least
bike
in
in their
every
family.
single family, there's a bike man there.
Now, when we are talking about bikes, I know that ownership is a big deal for many riders, and many of the plans now are that the rider owns the frame but not the battery. How does this affect adoption, and what advantages do the riders have under this model?
Every one of us here, at least as far as I know, we are operating on this business model of battery as a service. So we are giving you the asset, we are not selling you the battery. So what's that actually is, what's that solving? It's solving a barrier to adoption or barrier to entry or barrier to owning an EV. So the battery is the single most expensive component on the electric bike. So if we tell them that you're owning this battery alongside the bike, it's going the value of the asset is going to be so much, and less than 10% would afford to own the EVs. So we are separating the battery as a service. We are separating the batteries from the actual asset, and we are telling them, you know what, this is the most single expensive component on the electric bike. So you don't need to worry about taking care of the battery. You don't need to worry about maintaining it. And if the cycles of the battery get depleted, you don't need to spend so much replacing it. So we are actually taking care of everything. So that's what means. It's one. It means that we are improving the technology without making riders buy an entire new motorcycle. Batteries also become more efficient. The network upgrades them where the rider continues earning. Ultimately, like riders own the income generating asset, then which is the motorcycle, then the battery performance and life cycle management handled by us, Zeno, or whatever EV player is in the market. So ownership is much more kind of taken care of. So adoption should be much higher, I would say.
Okay. And I think probably the question that I would have as a rider or a buyer is that I will own the frame, but the battery, whatever happens to the battery, it's your business as Zeno,
true.
right?
Yeah.
So for the lifetime of my bike, I don't have to worry about, I have to replace this battery. Whatever happens, I will get the battery.
And at least, and then what Zeno thinks of, it's more of accessibility, making sure that the read experience is very high. At least every time they need a battery, it's available, fully charged. And then they also have the visibility in the app. We have the customer app where the riders see where the fully charged batteries are and what time it will take them to kind of get a fully charged in case there's none. Then another amazing thing besides the battery as a service, we have our asset has different charging modes. So you can swap. We are also giving you a provision of a fast charging. So fast charging, it takes less than an hour from 0 to 100. So it kind of reduces the battery to bike ratio, that problem there.
Okay. It makes a lot of sense because also you have to address the issue of downtime. And if I can charge my battery within an hour or swap the battery, then the downtime issue is addressed. And here we are talking about battery swapping, which is often presented as the solution. But riders also care about downtime and reliability. And in your conversations with thousands of riders, what matters more in practice? Is it the size of the battery, the speed of swapping, or simply knowing a charged battery is always available?
I don't think that drivers care about how heavy or how big the battery is, because at the end of the day, they are thinking about the reliability. If I need a battery, will I get it? And where can I get it? Is it within the network? So that's the biggest question that comes to their mind. They don't think about the size of the battery. Obviously, they will think about from the interactions I have had with thousands of riders. By the way, it's they're asking about the mileage, like how how far can the battery go. That's the range. Yeah, because the range anxiety is so real. But solving the range anxiety, it's they are always thinking, okay, if you're giving us this range, let's say 80 to 100 kilometers for a fully charged battery, in case my battery is draining faster, where can I receive the battery? Is it within my network? Is it within the areas I go to every single day? So that's what riders think. Because at the end of the day, what matters to them, it's about money. Like how much can I save on every single swap? And so what's the network? And also the reliability. Yeah. In case of, we have seen other players in the market. True, they have different, they have a strong network, but then the issue comes with the batteries not being there in time, like fully charged batteries. So drivers spend lots of hours or lots of their time waiting for batteries to get full. So that's also one thing that we kept in mind. So both our swap station and our fast chargers, they charge the batteries in less than 1 hour from 0 to 100. Yeah. So, and also the way we are deploying our swap network, it's we are looking at where drivers go, like what's their hotspots, where do they drop their customers, where do they pick their customers. Obviously, we use a lot of data with the experience I have with the safe border, and also a decade in this industry. At least I have partners that I work with, the ride-hailing partners who are willing to kind of give us some of the surface level data to show where we can deploy our substation network. So that's kind of we're trying to solve the day-to-day driver questions of reliability and also accessibility.
Okay. This means that on the route that most of these riders are on, there are substations that they will quickly, get to change your batteries, or the charging systems that you have mentioned about the fast charging, that they will be able to do this without, having to worry about, will I find it or not?
So long as they are very confident that they can get that information within their fingertips, like just by looking at their app. Okay, if I can't get this battery in this network, where's the next battery? Where can I get the next battery? And where can I get the next fast charger? So that's kind of how we are thinking about the rollout.
Okay. And while battery swapping models are increasingly favored because they reduce upfront costs and minimize downtime, then there is also the network reliability, which remains critical to rider confidence. How about the cost of swapping? Because I know when I was in Uganda, he was spending like 400 Uganda shillings for a swap. That is like 20 Kenya shillings, which is about probably 0.2, 20 cents, 20 US cents. Yeah.
Yeah. So the cost of the swapping, obviously, it has to make economic sense for the rider. Because at the end of the day, as I told you, riders compare everything against what they are currently spending on petrol. So if swapping allows them to spend less overall while keeping them on the road with a minimal downtime, then it becomes more business decision rather than a technology decision. So look at how much with this dynamic fuel costs, like currently in Uganda, our petrol has increased by around 40% per liter. But the cost of swapping is kind of remaining the same because our energy hasn't increased. So that kind of gives the riders a leverage of using using swapping. And how personally and how we are thinking about our go-to-market, we are thinking of, okay, how much can we price our swaps? If we reduce the swap by, let's say, 20% compared to the market price, do we still make money? And also, if we even go cheaper on a fast charger by, let's say, additional 30%, Does it even make businesses for us and also for the rider? So those are the kind of questions that we are thinking on a daily basis before we actually come into the market. But generally speaking, in terms of the riders' perspective, they are also thinking about, okay, if I'm switch from a ice bike to an electric one, how much am I going to save on swaps and on energy? Yeah, for them to make a very economic sense, either to move or to stay the
Yes.
same.
So it has to make economic sense. And for this, probably to create a picture for me and for those who are watching, how many times does a rider need to swap in a day? The busiest that you have.
Yeah, the busiest, it needs a driver to swap about 2 times a day. And that's obviously they won't let their batteries drain up to less than 20%. So they are always having that anxiety of the range. So every time they reach around 40%, they swap. And on average, a high value rider or a very busy rider who's using the riding as a full-time job, they complete about 100 to 130 kilometers a day. And if you're giving them a battery range of about 100 kilometers or 80 to 100, then it will need them to just swap like 2 times. And look at the time, they either swap early in the morning or they swap late in the night.
Okay. Okay. So they wake up with full charge and run their
they
day,
know
then
that
swap
okay,
at
they
night
are ready
again.
to hit the road. Then maybe later around the peak time of around maybe coming to 3 to 4 p.m. when they are about to pick people from offices or kids from schools, then they do another swap.
You've seen riders at every stage of the transition. What usually convinces the most skeptical to finally abandon a gasoline bike? Abandoning the pump or the fuel stations. Is it the higher daily earnings, the lower maintenance, or recommendations from fellow riders? Or is there something else entirely?
Actually, they will never know about their daily earnings or lower maintenance. What they will always know, from my experience, it has always been a word of mouth. Like word of mouth everywhere I've gone to, either Nigeria or Kenya, it's always from a fellow rider. Even when you ask them, how did you get to know about us? They won't tell you about the website. They won't tell you about the Twitter tweet, or they won't tell you about the different marketing team members. They will always mention about, at least I have seen John or I have seen Njenga, right? And Njenga is so famous on our stage, and he has highly talked about your asset. That's how they will always. Then later on, in terms of the higher earnings, lower maintenance, they get to know from Njenga because he's their peer. So word of mouth has actually been very critical for every tech business here in the Boda industry. Not only EVs, actually. Even in the ride hailing, even in the deliveries, it's always, if you can get your pioneers or get your champions or dragons, these are the kind of guys who are going to build up, like to build for you a good customer base.
Okay. And because you're working with the ride-hailing companies or apps, do you have data or information on if most of those who are requesting these rides prefer electric versus, gasoline?
From the time I worked for ride hailing, actually, what we actually did, it's we integrated or we added another tier or another vertical, which is an EV into the app. And that's kind of telling the community or the customers out there, they have an option of requesting either ice bike or requesting for the EVs. And after we saw a good uptake in terms of our customers trying to request by the time, the EVs were not that many. And that kind of created a bad experience. Like a customer actually needs an EV, but the EV is not there. Then they have to waste another 1 minute to switch to another another vertical, which is an ICE, then they will get the ICE within less than a minute. But now with a good uptake of EVs, I don't have the data off head, but I know that at least companies have actually integrated or added EVs. I have seen a couple of different players add EVs into their app. I know the uptake should be higher currently, because if you look at the food deliveries, I would say 80% of drivers are using EVs. And from the qualitative side, what I have seen on the socials, actually, customers mention about how efficient these assets are, and obviously they have some few concerns about the designs and the aesthetics. But generally speaking, like EVs, I think it's a well product that has been positioned into the communities, and customers actually are embracing them, even though I don't have the actual data off head.
All right. So then the two-wheeler transport segment is electrifying the fastest, meaning that it is very popular. And I know that there are reasons why this is happening, but what are these for somebody who is interested in this space? What should we expect of a successful BodaBoda rider 5 years from now? And will this success depend fully on owning the bike, including the battery, managing energy costs, or developing business skills beyond riding?
Maybe look at ahead about 5 years from now. I think the definition of a successful rider will evolve, like from look at day to day. It will just, success won't simply be about owning a motorcycle outright. Like, Moses, I need a motorcycle right now. Can I get it right there? No. It will be about running a profitable transport business. I know that, okay, at the end of the month, I can save a good amount of money because I spent less on services, I spent less on fuel or energy. And then the riders who succeed, we understand that their daily operating costs. Then they will also manage energy efficiently, use digital platforms to access customers like the ones I have mentioned, then maintain excellent customer service and plan their finances for a very long term. That's kind of how I think about that success. Obviously, technology is going to continue improving, but the biggest differentiator we still be the rider's ability to operate like an entrepreneur, like any other business person, rather than just a motorcycle owner. Like any person who thinks about how much am I spending, the cost of operating is lower, then my take home is higher. At the end of the day, I know that I'm very safe when I use these different assets. Yeah. So, yeah, that's how success will look like.
And that's all for this episode of the Africa EV Show today. Moses Musinguzi reminded us that the future of electric mobility isn't being shaped only in boardrooms, and that it's being built by and around people who have lived the realities of the road. And from starting out as a BodaBoda rider in Kampala to leading operations and now helping drive the adoption of electric motorcycles at Zeno Uganda, his journey shows that the best solutions often come from those who understand riders' daily challenges firsthand. Our conversation also has explored the question that matters most: can riders earn more? And the answer is that yes, they can earn more, and that battery swapping or fast charging is working. And what this does for ownership is that those who are in the ICE space, when they hear of all the beautiful, solutions that are coming in to saving the costs that they would have incurred either maintaining or refueling, then they are shifting because of that advantage. And what will separate the most successful riders over the next 5 years is technology will have a big role to play, as well as the advantages and the word of mouth that is being spread out as the e-mobility shift happens, not only in Uganda, but across East Africa and across the entire continent. And what stands out is that the transition to electric motorcycles is not linear, but it is about far more than replacing an engine with a battery. Thank you so much, Musinguzi,
Welcome, Njenga.
for joining us
Thanks for the invite.
and sharing your insights from both sides of the industry. And now we have a better view of what to look for if I am interested getting into the BodaBoda sector. And if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to the Africa EV Show on YouTube, like and share. Then listen to us on your favorite podcast platforms and leave us a review. And to help us grow, remember to always share these conversations with anyone who is interested in the future of transport across Africa, as well as with those who need to hear about innovations in tech, business models, and vehicles in the electric vehicle space. Until next time, I am Njenga Hakeenah. Thanks for listening. Thank you for watching.